BreakTheBoardSports.com. It's your boy RJ Cash. Another great day betting yesterday. New Mexico State 2.5-point underdog with the win outright. Baseball's been very good to us in the baseball playoffs so far, as we set at 8-2 along with all of our bets. Click that like, hit subscribe. Big Ten football. Let's get into it. We go game by game, giving you betting trends and analysis to help you become a better handicapper. Here at Break the Board Sports, we're all about you becoming a better handicapper. That's what's important to us, so you can make your own plays. First game on the board, let's hop right into it. Illinois at Purdue. Now, this line is stuck at 9.5. You're over under 55.5 in this one. 81% of tickets and 61% of the money on the Fighting Illini as they come off that big win against USC at home. But a little bit of a tricky spot on the road in conference against a Purdue team with Coach Barry Odom coming over from UNLV, doing a nice job. Going to take him a little while, but he's got Purdue out to a 2-2 start. It's better than they did last year. Illinois, this is a tough one. Like I said, big emotional game against USC last week. Guess who Illinois got now next week after this game? That's right. They're at home against the Buckeyes. So sandwiched in the middle of USC and Ohio State at home, got to make a small little road trip over to Purdue. Again, Illinois laying 9.5. You're over under 55.5. 81% of tickets, 61% of the handle on Illinois. Only 19% of ticket count and 39% of the handle is on Purdue. Right now, overwhelming support for the over 55.5, 66 per ticket, but more importantly, 78% of the handle. 34% of tickets to the under, excuse me, and 22% of the handle going that way. Looking at some betting trends, Illinois 8-1 against the spread their last 9. So if you've been back in Illinois, you've had a lot of success. They're 8-1 straight up in that time frame too. So Bielema has got his team rolling. However, newsflash, Purdue, though they're not very good against the spread, 4-11 ATS over their last 15. Got to remember the transfers coming in. Got to remember new head coach Barry Odom is going to get that thing turned around. So as much as trends play a part, 4-11 ATS last 15, 2-3 straight up the last 15 games overall, I more want to focus on how do these two teams compare to each other. Well, in that case, the last 12 matchups, not very good for Illinois from an ATS standpoint. Check this out. Illinois is just 4-8 against the spread the last 12 meetings against Purdue. And let's be real, Purdue hasn't been good for a number of years now. So when you dig into it and say, all right, well, let me look. 7 of the last 10, Purdue's won outright. Last year, Illinois with Bielema and team on the comeback, and a horrible, horrible Purdue team last year. Just absolutely horrible. Purdue is catching an amazing 23 points. Well, guess what happened? Illinois won that game at home. The game was in Illinois. Illinois won 50-49 in overtime by 1 point. The 3 meetings before that, again, those Purdue teams not good. 44-19, 31-24, and 13-9 Purdue. And they were a dog in 2 of those 3 they won outright. So, again, I think Purdue plus 9.5, maybe you spend an extra 10, 15 cents by the hook to get to an even 10. I think those are all good leans. If you're looking for Illinois, I would just be careful about the spot, right? The spots are important. And right now it's a huge disadvantage, I feel like, for Illinois because, again, they got that sandwich spot. Now, again, we talk about Purdue. First halves, they haven't been very good either. They've only covered 4 of their last 13. If you've been following Purdue down that cliff, you'd be just you'd be negative 6.22 units, a 42% return on your investment. And so, again, I'd be very, very careful here. One rule I always live by is I never lay points on the road. Somebody told me years ago, you lay points on the road, you'll be sleeping on a park bench. It's so hard to win on the road. If you're going to lay points, it makes it even harder. Not saying road teams don't win, just if you're looking over the whole body of work, again, just things to look at. Again, I always give my opinions. Your boy RJ Cash, click that like, hit subscribe. And I have plays give out to players. Purdue is one of my favorite plays of the week. I gave it out at 10.5. There was a 10. I said buy the hook, so I got 10.5. You can buy a whole point, lay $1.35. Some people are against that. I just think this is a real close game. But I also think Purdue is live here. I think they are very live. I like Purdue in this spot. But again, gave you some different trends there. Hopefully, if you're on the Illinois side, we pushed you over. If you're on the Purdue side, we pushed you over. Next Big Ten game, Wisconsin at Michigan. Michigan laying 17.5. This one stuck at 16.5 for a very long time. Finally got pushed up to 17.5. Your over-under set at 43.5. Again, all over all the time. 83% of tickets and 90% of the handle to the over. Only 17% of tickets and 10% of the handle to the under. I'll preach this all the time. You'll hear me say it. You have to have rules to be a good handicapper, right? And so there has to be things, no matter the teams, no matter the situations, I'm looking for that number. So whether it's 10% of bets or money or less, 20%, 30, 35, whatever your number is, and you might say, well, I can't just blindly bet a number. Yes, you can. Because here's the thing. They don't build casinos and sports books off the public winning, right? So if the sports book needs it, I'm not saying you side with them all the time, but last time I checked, those sports books are pretty nice and comfy when you walk into them, right? You go out there in Vegas, whether it's MGM, the Bellagio, Circa, who's the best in the world, those are nice sports books, right? Somebody just didn't build them to lose money. Like that's not how that works, okay? And the drinks don't cost that much. They may be high, but they ain't that daggone high. They win off the public. So again, I'm not saying you all the time blindly go that way, but when you look at something, if it's getting hammered, and you can also follow a lot of people on X, there's plenty of information out there that sometimes you just got to take your feelings out of it. And when I look at a number 17% of tickets, 10% of the money, it catches my eye. Same thing here, 73% of tickets and 77% of the handle says they're going to lay it with Michigan minus 17.5. Wisconsin only getting 27% of the bets and 23% of the handle. So not a lot of love there for the Wisconsin Badgers. I can understand why. Wisconsin 1-5 ATS their last 6, 2-7 straight up their last 9. But Badgers, they've been able to hang in there against the spread against Michigan. 6-2 ATS over the last 8 meetings. Now, the over, I know the over is getting beat up. Here's 3 trends that support that. The over, 5 of the last 6 games for Wisconsin on the road has went over the total. Head-to-head between these two teams, the over has cashed 8 of the last 10, and Michigan has been on one heck of a roll at home. 7 straight games at home the Michigan Wolverines have played in have gone over the total. So, again, it's been the over all the time for them. So let's hop into a couple other trends here, see if we can find some more information to hook you up here. Michigan, 3-1 straight up, 2-2 ATS on the year. Wisconsin, 2-2 record, 1-3 ATS. Now, these teams haven't played since 2021. That was pre-Luke Fickell. I don't know if that really makes a difference. But 38-17, Michigan rolled them. But Wisconsin has won 6 of the last 10 meetings. So something to keep an eye on there. When we look offensively and defensively, Wisconsin is averaging 324 yards per game. Michigan absolutely drowning them. 436.8 yards per game. Now, Wisconsin's defense, if Wisconsin's going to cover the spread, is going to have to show up. They're only allowing 284.5 yards per game. That ranks 23rd in the country. And Michigan's right behind them with the 25th ranked defense in the country, giving up 291.8 yards per game. Also, points per game. Michigan's defense, 34th in the country, only giving up 17.8 points per game. Wisconsin, they're 40th, 18.8 points per game. So again, I know there's a lot of trends to the over, but these are 2 really good defenses. Also, you're going to have 2 teams that will love to run the ball. Now, Michigan's going to be much more up-paced, right? But Wisconsin, they gotta shorten this game, long possessions. They can't get out in a shootout with Michigan. But I keep thinking, I watched New Mexico at Michigan earlier in the year, and New Mexico has ended up better than my power rating said. But Michigan really didn't impress. They didn't cover the spread against the Lobos. And I look at Wisconsin and New Mexico, kind of a similar style, right? But I also look at it as Michigan look ahead spots matter. Next week, Michigan has the big game with USC at USC. That's a big, big game for them. So just something to keep an eye on. Not saying that it's everything, but you got to take everything into your account, handicapping wise. Offensively, Michigan 15 points a game better. Michigan averaging 35 points a game. Wisconsin just under 21 points per game at 20.08 points per game. Wisconsin first half, that first half over under is 21.5. The first half game total under has hit 10 of the last 13 games the Badgers have been in. If you've been following that, you're up 6.7 units, 46% return on your investment. Michigan, you can't lay 850 on a money line unless you're doing a parlay, but there's 7 of the last 12 they've hit that money line. And the other thing you can look at, Wisconsin first quarter game total under. Over under is at 9.5. You can get the under there. 9 of the last 12 games, Wisconsin's hit that first quarter game total under. If you've been following that, you're up 5.4 units, about a 36% return on your investment there. If you're looking for money lines for Michigan, again, 850 too much for the game, but you could work first quarter money line in a parlay somewhere, even though it's still high minus 390. They've hit that 5-1 over the last 6 games. You'd be up 5.3 units, about a 16% return on your investment. Again, Wisconsin, if you're looking for them to cover the first quarter spread, they are 4-2 ATS the last 6 games against the first quarter spread. That would put you up 3.9 units, about a 59% return on your investment. My lean, obviously, I'm looking at the Badgers plus 17.5 on the road. I think that's a big number. I'm not going to end up taking it, though. However, Michigan, they're just too potent. And Wisconsin, they struggle to score. I can't trust Wisconsin. But if I was going to make a play, I would 100% make a play on Wisconsin. But I'm just going to set this one out. Again, one of the greatest advantages you have as a bettor and as a handicapper is you don't have to play the game. It's one of the most awesome things we have. We don't have to bet every game. I think that's very important to your handicap that you remind yourself of that constantly. Let's move on. Washington at Maryland. Washington coming off that loss to Ohio State. Washington laying 6.5 on the road as they got to travel across the country to play the Terps. Washington minus 6.5. You're over under 52.5. Now, the over under is all kinds of backwards. High ticket count on the over, 76%, but only 24% of the handle. That shows me Joe's. When you have a high ticket count, low money, typically that's public. When you have a low ticket count, higher handle, typically signals that you're pros. That's what's happening in this one. 24% of tickets, but 78% of the handle on that under 52.5. As far as the game goes, 59% of tickets and 57% of the handle is on Maryland plus 6.5. The more I look around, more I read up, more I study, the more I listen, to the outside. A lot of people like the trendy dog with the Terps here. For Washington, they're the much better team. But again, that's a tough spot for them coming off the loss to Ohio State in a big emotional game after they had won 20 straight at home, dropped that one. Now they got to fly across the country to College Park, Maryland. 41% of tickets and 43% of handle going to the Washington Huskies. Huskies 2-4 ATS their last 6, even worse on the road. 1-5 against the spread their last 6 games on the road, and 2-5 ATS their last 7 against Big Ten opponents. They haven't fared very well at all. Maryland hasn't been much better. They're 2-5 ATS their last 7, 1-4 against the spread their last 5 at home, and 1-5 straight up their last 6 games versus a Big Ten opponent. Now, these two teams have never met. Maryland last week at Wisconsin went on the road in Big Ten play, won 27-10. Another reason why I want nothing to do with Wisconsin if I don't have to bet it. Maryland, they've hit the first quarter game total under. So you're over under 11.5 for the first quarter. You can take the under in that if you've been following that trend with Maryland. That's hit 9 of their last 12 games, 5.75 units. You'd be up about a 41% return on your investment there for that one. And the only way I could get interested in this one, again, I don't lay points on the road, would be finding a money line dance partner to go with Washington, just to get Washington down to win the game. or find somebody in a 2-team 6-point teaser, though I'm really against teasers for college. I think they're phenomenal with NFL dogs. Check out our teaser, NFL teaser show, and click that like, hit subscribe. You'll love that teaser show. Last week in the NFL, we were able to be up over 13 units last week with a very nice 15-2 record. But college teasers don't work. There's no kneeling the football. They're always trying to run up the score. Crazy stuff happens with college kids. But that being said, if I found another money line dance partner, Washington would be something I like. I just don't see Maryland beating Wisconsin, even though they're at home, and beating Washington. Two totally different things here. Let's move on to the next one. Not going to touch on this one a whole lot just because it's a huge spread. And to be honest with you, James Franklin, I tried to back him one last time last week and got it shoved up my backside. So I try to stay away from all things Penn State these days. They're laying 24.5, 48.5 is the over-under. 84% of tickets, 60% of the handle is on the over, 16% of tickets, and 40% of the handle is on the under. Penn State, they're getting all the love. 84% of tickets, 81% of the handle going to Penn State. Only 16% of tickets and 19% of the handle going to UCLA. Excuse me, frog in my throat. So you say, well, RJ, you were just talking about, thresholds. Well, why don't you side with UCLA? Because they're just so daggone terrible, right? You've done fired the coach. They're just not a good football team. UCLA is horrific. Penn State, again, whether it's betting for them or against them, I just want nothing to do with them. It's not really a flat spot per se because next week isn't a look ahead. They're hosting lowly Northwestern. God only knows what Penn State could do here. There's nothing I put past them whatsoever. Penn State 0-5 ATS their last 5 games. They're like Georgia and Clemson. They couldn't cover if their life depended on it. But they are 6-0 straight up the last 6 on the road, 16-4 straight up their last 20 overall. Again, UCLA over their last 7 games, 1-6 straight up and 1-6 ATS in that time frame. They're not very good either. Would love to give you some stuff here and make a case one way or the other. Just can't do it. I will say last year these two teams played in Happy Valley at Penn State, and Penn State only won the game 27-11. UCLA, better quarterback, but again, they fired the coach. They're just a mess. Penn State only won by 16 at home last year. So the conventional wisdom would be, hey, getting 24.5, there should be something there with UCLA. I get that way of thinking. Again, I will say this, just blindly, it would be UCLA or nothing, but just not interested in anything in this game whatsoever. Again, click that like, hit subscribe. We got 2 more games to get into for the Big Ten. Let's go to Nebraska as they host Michigan State. And these betting splits have really gotten way opposite of where I thought they'd be. The line hasn't moved really at all either. Nebraska laying 11.5, over under 50.5, 71% of bets, 65% of the handle to the over, 39% of tickets, and 35% of the handle to the under. That spread of 11.5, Sparty getting a lot of love, 64% of tickets, 73% of the handle with Coach Josh Smith and company. I like the quarterback play. I think Michigan State is on the rise, being a better team. Now, going to take another year or two for them really to contend with some of the big boys. But Nebraska, only 36% of tickets and 27% of the handle here with Dylan Raiola. Him and Matt Rule have screwed me many of times. 4-1 straight up their last 5 is Nebraska. Now, Michigan State, they're 4-2 straight up their last 6, but ATS has not been Sparty's friend. They're 1-8 against the spread their last 9 games. More importantly, head-to-head with the Cornhuskers, Michigan State 2-9 against the spread their last 11 overall. That's just absolutely horrible. Nebraska, in that time frame, 4-1 against the spread. Their last 5 games when playing Sparty at home. 2 years ago, these teams locked up at Michigan State. Michigan State won 20-17. Then they played 2 years before that. Michigan State won in overtime 23-20. You can make the argument that Nebraska obviously is a much better team than they were at that time. My thing is I can't lay 11.5 with Nebraska. I just can't do that. Now, game total over under of 10.5 for the first quarter. That game total under has cashed 8 of the last 11 games that the Cornhuskers have played in. If you've been following that, you're up 4.35 units, about a 31% return on your investment. Right now, I think if you want to play Michigan State, plus 3.5 for the first quarter might be the way to lean. That trend is 8-3 ATS the last 11 games for Sparty. That would put you up 4.22 units, 32% return on your investment for that one. The game total over for Michigan State, that's cashed 8 of the last 12, put you up 3.6 units, 27% return on your investment. Nebraska, 4-2 to the game total over their last 6 at home, put you up 1.8 units, 27% return on your investment. Now, Nebraska, we talk about the first quarter, the game total under has hit 8 of the last 11 games. But here's the problem with that. If you have been taking the over first quarter, and right now it's setting at 10.5, if you have been betting against that trend with the Cornhuskers, you'd be down 5.5 units, negative 46% return on your investment here. So again, just be careful about that. I think, again, if you're going to look at Sparty, you look at them first quarter, I think they come out hot. I don't think Sparty is built to come from behind. Now, Nebraska, they could put up points, hostile environment, but I'm just really down on Nebraska after that performance with Michigan. I know Michigan's much better than Michigan State, not denying that. I just didn't like how the response was from Nebraska in that game. Last one for the Big Ten here. Number 1 team in the country, Ohio State, welcomes in the Gophers. Right now, Ohio State laying 23.5. Number hasn't moved. Over under 43.5. Right now, 88% of tickets and 33% of the handle to the over Minnesota. 12% of tickets and 67% of the handle going to the under 43.5 in that game. So again, low ticket count, very high handle signals pros there. 84% of tickets, 90% of the handle to Ohio State. Ohio State getting all the love. 16% of handle, 16% of bets, 10% of the handle to the Golden Gophers, catching 23.5. There's a couple 24s out there starting to present themselves. Problem is, I just don't know how Minnesota scores. I watch this Ohio State defense, and I'm like, man, you're bottling up Washington, you're bottling up Texas. Minnesota is not exactly a juggernaut. In Ohio State, you might say, oh, they got the big game at Illinois next week. Is it a look ahead for them? I don't think so. I think Ohio State, like even saying the quarterback, they haven't unleashed him. I don't know if it's a good spot. I mean, they've won 10 straight against the Gophers, has Ohio State. In their last 8 games, Ohio State has been a covering machine. 7-0-1 ATS over the last 8, obviously 8-0 straight up that in that span. But the under has cashed 4 of the last 5 between these two teams, and the unders cashed 4 of the last 6 times for Minnesota. Now, Minnesota, they have been decent against the spread, 9-4 ATS over their last 13 games. So that's positive for them. But when I look at 23.5, 24, I'm never going to lay those type of points. But I went back to last year at Ohio State, where the game is this week. Ohio State beat them 37-3. 37-3. And I can make the argument right now, Ohio State's a much better team than they were last year. Before that, in Minnesota, you got to go back to 2021. They beat Minnesota by 14. Okay, Minnesota would have covered that. Before that, 16, 14, 7. So a string of 4 there where Minnesota was able to keep it close. I think if you want to look to anything, you look maybe to the under. I just could totally see Ohio State walking the dog on this one and really beating up Minnesota. For me, it's a stay away. I get it, though. If I was going to take anything, again, I would probably look under just because of the ticket count and the handle. But again, the problem becomes Ohio State's just so potent. I don't think they've unleashed their offense whatsoever, which is even scarier to think about is how good that Ohio State team is. Again, click that like, hit subscribe. Check out our SEC show. Can't talk today. That we put out. Also, check out that NFL teaser show. You're going to love that. We got another show coming up later on this afternoon, hopping into Cowboys, Jets, Texans, Ravens, as well as Broncos, Eagles. Again, Break the Board Sports. Click that like, hit subscribe. If you want our plays, they're $1.37 a day. BreakTheBoardSports.com. God bless and happy handicapping.